Welcome to the next part of Learn Energy Healing. I hope you enjoyed the last video, by the way, the Yun method, that center line method, very powerful, one of my favorite techniques. So please go back and look at that if you haven't already. Today we're going to do our first video on distance healing. So about 95%-ish of my work over the last 9 or so years has been distance healing, working with people in many different countries over Skype, if they want to talk face to face, or quite often with no video or no text contact at all, just simply distance healing, and then I write an email afterwards saying what I did. So it's becoming more accepted because people are open to more possibilities, they understand the connectedness of the universe, and so a lot of people are much more open to distance healing and can feel its effects just as much as if they were here in person with me. Some people aren't like that. Some people need to feel that connection, need to be with someone in person to feel the effects. So again, it's their consciousness, whether they believe a distance healing can work or not, whether it can be as effective as being in person. Their belief very much affects the healing. But I would say that it's become much more accepted now, and we can get some amazing results at a distance, like I already have. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to have a business for 9 years doing distance healing. So today we're going to show a few different ways of starting with distance healing. So I have my wife here again, helping me out in this video. And the setup we've got here is a great way of getting started with distance healing. So even though she's in the same room as me, I'm going to be working here as if she was on this table. And of course, she's not very far away to talk to ask her, did you feel anything? How did that go? So it's a really, really nice way of getting started. In the past, I did used to have a lovely skeleton that I would put on the massage table. So I do recommend getting one if you feel that you want to do distance healing, because having a full scale skeleton on your bed, you can find energies in much more detail than the way I'm about to show you. I don't have one to show you, unfortunately. I don't own a skeleton anymore, but they are really, really good to get started so that you get an idea of perspective. You don't need a skeleton, you don't need a drawing, you don't need a teddy bear or a baby really to do distance healing, but it can be very useful to help keep a reference of where you are, what you are tuning into. You could, if you want to, have no pictures, no skeletons, no teddy bears, anything like that, and just know that their foot is here, know that their shin, their knee, their thigh, their pelvis, stomach, and so on is where it is. But I found when I started, it's useful to have a reference guide, and that's why I recommend having a skeleton or at least a drawing of some kind, so that you know what you're tuning into when you are scanning. So one of the easiest ways to start is, I've got a very simple stickman drawing here. I don't know if you can see that very well on the camera there. It's just a simple stickman. To start with, you don't really need to have a very detailed picture if you want. Obviously, the bigger the picture, the more refined you can get with where you are finding energies, but you don't necessarily need that to start with. So if you can have a stickman picture here, or stick woman, because I'm working on my wife. So again, we talked a lot in one of the very early videos about intention. So intention is very important with distance healing. So even though us in life, we perceive that I'm here and my wife is there and some relative in America is really, really far away, really there is no distance. So if you want to really delve into that and how distance healing works, you can look into things like quantum mechanics, you can look into different types of psychology, lots of different types of science you can look into to help you understand. But there's nothing better really than just getting stuck in and trying it, seeing what you can feel, what the person you're working on can feel. And that's a much better way of showing how distance work, healing work can happen. What I know myself, I got stuck quite deep into quantum mechanics, quantum theory, to kind of understand it logically before I was willing to accept it. So we're using our intention again to say that this stick diagram, the head is my wife's head, and the body is her body, and the legs are her legs, and so on and so on. And I'm treating this, I'm going to try and step to the side so you can see my wife. And I'm treating it as if she was there. Okay, so I'm using any one of the techniques I've shown you so far. So I'm using my sense of touch to scan, setting an intention of feeling what I would feel as if she was really there, and setting the intention to really feel any energies that may be useful to remove. So I'm moving up here. I'm starting to feel her feet here. And there's a little bit around the ankles there, isn't there? Okay. A little bit harder to move through the pelvis region. Okay. So there's a few different things I can pick up here just by using the diagram. Okay, if a stickman diagram isn't enough, again, you can use a much bigger diagram if you want, or get a picture, a really detailed anatomy picture if you want to. If you can, you could get a full-length picture of the person you're working on if you feel that's what you need. Or, of course, you can use teddy bears. This is a baby, so even though my wife isn't a baby, it can be useful for referencing where feet are, ankles and knees. So you could use that if you wanted to. Okay. So let's give this a try, shall we? So I said I felt something around that pelvis area. So I'm just connecting with that now. Maybe my wife feels it, I don't know. I don't know if she can feel me connecting with that. And yeah, pick any one of the techniques that you fancy from the previous videos. They all work with distance work. So I could, for example, pick up that energy I'm feeling with the pelvis, feeling it, the weight of it in my hand, and throwing it away. That made a little bit of a difference. Did you feel that one? Yeah, you did. Okay, good. So as you can see with this setup, with the person still being in the same room, but you're not hovering over their aura, you're not working directly on their aura. You know, it's a very quick way of asking, did you feel that? You know, and that verification can really help you have the confidence and the belief that you can do distance healing work. So let's do a little bit more around the pelvis, shall we? So again, picking it up, feeling the weight of it, and throwing it away. That's the auric magnetic technique, by the way. So if you're working on chakras as well, you can get a pendulum and test it as if you were testing the person in person. So let's see. So it still feels a little bit defensive around the pelvic region. So I'm setting the intention for the pendulum to see whatever's there. And yes, it's moving left and right. I don't know if you can see that very well on the camera. A little bit of a clockwise movement, but mostly moving left and right. So it's an elliptical movement, clockwise. Definitely a lot of left-right movements. That's me verifying what I could feel with my hand. So if you haven't come across the video on how to work on chakras, how to sense chakras, how to use a pendulum on chakras, then go back and see those videos. But again, you can do that as if she was really here. And if you wanted to verify that again, you could, because she's in the same room, go over and verify it. So here I am, dropping the pendulum in, nice relaxed hand, setting the intention to see what's there. And is it the same as what I was feeling over there? And you probably can't see at this distance, but you're going to have to trust me. So it's going clockwise in an elliptical movement. So there's a lot of left-right movement more than there is circular movement. So that very much verifies what I was finding on this piece of paper here. Okay, so why don't we do a healing on that chakra and see what happens, shall we, as a little demonstration. So I'm just tuning in, connecting with that chakra and setting the intention again. Intention, very important, to work on that chakra as if it was the real chakra, setting the intention to allow whatever energies through me so that that chakra can open up and become more balanced. So we're using a different technique here. So we're using the allow technique that I taught in a previous video. Okay, if a shift there, some release of energy. I'm just seeing if I can feel that chakra a bit better. So it does feel a little bit more circular now. So again, the more different ways you can verify what you are feeling, the better. So I could walk over there and use my hand to see, okay, is it circular with my hand? And I can also do it here. So again, because I'm using the pendulum, because it's a lovely visual way for you to see what's going on. So I'm setting the intention to see whatever is there without bias, without considering what I felt with my hand. And we're getting much more circular movement now. Clockwise circular, so it's nice and open, balanced. It's jiggling around a bit though, in different directions, so I know that there's still some healing going on there. So that's what I can sense there. So I can sense with my hand, I'm verifying it with the pendulum, and of course I can verify again by going over here, dropping the pendulum in again, and seeing what I can find. So again, over that second chakra, nice clockwise circular movement. It's not quite so left-right like it was before. Okay. So as you can see, the more ways you can verify whether what you're feeling in your hand, hovering over this picture, is really making a difference, the better. The more confidence you will build, the more belief, therefore, you will build that you can heal at a distance, and the more successful you will be at it, of course. So we're using various verification methods here. We're using voice. So does that area feel a little bit better than earlier? Yeah. So we've got her telling us whether she feels any change there herself. So that's one level of verification. Our other level of verification is using our sense of touch on the picture here, going over and touching the same area or energy of the aura over there and seeing whether we feel the same. So that's another level of verification. And then, of course, because we've been working on the chakras, I've been using the pendulum here to verify what I was feeling for my hand here. And also verifying when I take it over there that the pendulum is behaving the same on her actual aura compared to the aura here. Okay. So one last thing with distance healing is a lot of people feel that they, and this is especially the case when there's not a person in the room, especially when they're working on a person they may not know very well or a person in another country. A lot of people feel that they need a photo of that person to make sure they're working on the right person. Or some people like to have a name, date of birth, address, postcode, lots and lots and lots of details so that they know they're working on the right person at a distance to make sure they're connecting. Those are all very valid things that you can do. You don't really need them. Personally, all I have to do these days is say, okay, I've got a 10 o'clock appointment this morning, distance healing with someone in Australia. And I just imagine the person in front of me, even if I don't know what they look like. And I just say to myself, okay, the person who's booked in for this 10 o'clock appointment this morning, I intend it to be that person I'm working on. So I don't need the date of birth, I don't need the address, I don't need to know what they look like. That's enough for me. But to start with, if you're working at a bit of a distance, then yes, name, date of birth, a picture of them, an address, that kind of thing can be useful to help you feel more comfortable and confident that you are connecting with the right person. Okay, so that's a nice introduction to distance healing, and I will give you some other options in the next video. Okay, like and subscribe if you'd like to support this channel, and I will see you soon.